Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jason from LUMABLADE here, and today I wanted to talk to you about my first frame lock folding knife. I'm very proud of it. It's not the most beautiful thing in the world. There's a lot of mistakes and a lot of flaws in it. I'm going to point every one of those out to you because, hey, it's all about learning, and I'm not trying to hide my mistakes. I'm not trying to build myself up into something. I'm a guy just like you guys are, except for I have a little bit more experience than somebody that doesn't have any experience. And I'm just trying to build my reputation, my name, and build a knife business. That's my dream right now. Right now in life, that's my dream, to build a knife business where I'm making custom folding knives. I'm just working at it. I'm working hard. I'm doing everything I can to do it, and with a full-time job, full-time dad, full-time husband, and having full-time toys I need to play with, I'm fitting it in. But this is taking, a big priority. Anyway, so I'm a rambler. I gotta stop. This is, I'm gonna call it the LB1. It's my prototype, my first design. Designed the entire thing myself. I designed it in Draft Site. There's an excellent tutorial on how to do that. I designed this. If you're going to do folding knives, you need to learn how to do CAD. It's very simple. It sounds harder than it is. There's a lot of mistakes in it, a lot of uglies in it. But my thing was, I wasn't building this thing. Oh, there it goes. See? Raw coming from you. You know what happened was, I was holding it down here and I let off because I didn't want the blade to come. This thing's razor sharp. But anyway, see, I'm not trying to hide nothing. So I was building this thing for durability, for testing purposes, to make sure the ergonomics is right, to make sure it opens right, to make sure it's in my pocket right. So this here is the LB1. It's got titanium scales. Okay, everything is cut by hand. Everything's cut on the bandsaw, done on the grinder. When you work with titanium, you got to be really careful because the fires, the dust will ignite and it'll burn white. So you got to keep your dust separate. Don't use a vacuum cleaner, that kind of stuff. I'll get into that. I didn't know that until somebody warned me, and I looked it up, and it's true. It burns white. You can't even see it. The only way you can put it out is with sand. But there's a little tidbit for you. So anyway, I didn't build it for prettiness, beauty. I built this thing for function, to test it, so I could get a prototype in my hand to test. I could hand it to guys and say, go do this, go do that. So anyway, I built this knife. It took me 4 months to figure it out. It took me about maybe 30 hours to put this thing together. 30 hours. I mean, the grinding is easy for me now and everything like that, but like 30 hours to get everything working, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what stage do I heat this up? Do I heat the lock bar up and bend it? How far do I bend it? How do I put the detent? Do I push it? All research and trial and error. I mean, the knife's a great knife. I abused it. I abused this thing. So, I mean, it's razor sharp, holds an edge. I've only stropped it since I put the initial edge in it. Regular maintenance of a knife, you should strop it once a week if you use it. So, anyway, as you guys know, I work in the construction field, carpentry. So I use this knife. I finished it. I used it to cut. I cut tar paper with it. I use it to pry staples. Things that you should not do with your knives. Okay, I used it to cut out 2 cut-in work boxes, electric boxes, and all I did is once a week I went on the strop. I used strop block from Knives Plus. I go 5 passes each side, and that was it. That was my goal, once a week, just basic maintenance. I carried this thing for like 2 months, beat the crud out of it. And I wanted to know, because I'm not going to sell a product that I'm not standing behind, and I'm trying to make a simple folder that is durable, and my goal is to bring a custom-made United States, U.S. custom-made knife to market for under $400. Well under that. I'm trying to bring it in, handmade. That's what I'm trying to do. So in order to do that, I had to keep it very simple. Keep it simple, stupid, right? Um, so anyway, this was not built for beauty, and I'm going to point out all these flaws in a minute. Okay, I built it for strength, longevity of use, comfort of use, comfort in the hand, light in the pocket. Okay, so let me go over this. We got titanium scales that I anodized. Learned how to anodize from YouTube. Thank you, Michael Gabko. Appreciate that. Um, I've got stainless steel ball bearings, which is what it rides on. It's why it just opens so smooth and nice from any position. I built my own carbonizer to carbonize my lock face on the titanium so it doesn't gall. Um, my centering, I got to work on it. My centering is pretty good, but you know what happened with that? I don't have a DRO on my mill. So I kind of was doing the old carpenter trick, which is really guessing. So I'm not working with this. I'm not even working in thousandths. In my mind, maybe I am, but I'm not in reality, because I don't have a DRO on my mill, and I wasn't counting it. I was going by eye. That looks deep enough, and I put the thing in, which is not the right way to do it. But I'm not a machinist. That's why I said if I could do it, you guys could do it. So on to the mistakes. So, well, the first thing is not really a mistake, but it's a lack of proper tooling to get the job done. So you see this chamfer that goes around. I did this all by hand on my grinder. It's okay, but I see every flaw. I mean, I'll show how I did it one day, but to be honest with you, I don't really want to do it this way anymore, because you can see it gets off right there. It's upsetting, but you know, hey, it does the job. It looks good. Okay, so let's go with the mistakes from the first build. First mistake was I didn't make this smaller, so that when you reach in to close it with your thumb, to move that out, so it was easy. So that was an easy fix. I took care of that. That's something that didn't show up in CAD, and my lack of experience. The second mistake, which I think is a big mistake, which I've corrected, is when it's open, you can see the detent ball, the hole for the detent. Now I've looked at some of my other more, you know, commercialized ZTs and stuff like that, and you do see their detent ball when it's open. So I guess it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. The next, not really mistake, it was lack of knowledge and lack of tooling, was look at the size of my lock bar. I only had a 16th inch mill to do that with, and I didn't want to do it with a Dremel cutoff saw because I didn't want to eat that dust forever. The biggest mistake that I made, and this is the biggest mistake that I made with this knife, and it's all good now, but the biggest mistake that I made is when you're fitting up a knife, you can't, you know, you have to assemble it and disassemble it every time when you're milling like your lock face, when you're grinding your lock face. So you have to assemble it and disassemble it every time, completely. I mean, every single bolt has to come out, everything has to go back together to check it. Then you grind a tiny little bit, and then you got to put it all back together. It's about 20 times you got to do it. So I got a little lazy, and like I said, I'm used to working with wood, so you know, hey, wood's forgiving, metal is not. So I started just opening it up. You know, I just had the back part assembled, and I'd put the blade, put everything in, and I'd rotate the stop pin. I'd be like, okay, I got this open, this is the way I want it, and this is that, and everything. And you know, you have to grind a little bit out, not grind, but you just lightly file a little bit. So I originally had a .125 stop pin in here. And once I got it all assembled, everything, I mean, this worked lightning fast. You know, everything was like, there's like nothing. But there was a little bit, I'll open the lock bar to show, there was about that much movement. No good. Unacceptable. I was really bummed out. I wanted to get the knife into testing, so what I did for the first month is I actually took like metal tape, and I taped it to the back here. I know, but I just wanted to test it. I taped it here to find out that was the problem. I mean, I had a friend over that told me that I needed to make contact down here and over here, and it was teetering, but it wasn't. I kind of knew that. Um, I looked into it because it could have been, because I don't know. But I looked at so many knives, it's like whatever. So, and when I shoved a little piece of paper behind here, it stopped it. So, you know, I carried it, and then I took it out of service. I put it to the side, and I said, you know what, it was starting to upset me every time. I'd be like, it was like my reminder, but it was along with my fear to fail video. It was my reminder that, yeah, so what? I failed, but you know what? I know what's wrong, and I know what I got to do the next time. And you know, in the big scheme of things, the material really is nothing. You know, so this past week I've been like a machine in the knife shop, trying to get stuff done. Just working, getting ready for the Tormach. I'm studying Fusion 360, trying to get that down, trying to get everything rolling and going. So I said, you know what? I finished up most of my projects as far as I could go. I was waiting for something because I'm working. I'm working on a pretty cool like hunter project that I've never done before. It's the first one. I'll showcase that at some point. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna fix it. So I had to sit and think about it, and I was like, well, if that's the problem, I think I need to put a bigger stop pin in. And if I put the bigger stop pin in, that'll take the play out. Because all I need is like 1,000th. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. And this goes along with fear to fail. I didn't know it was going to 100% work. You know, it should. Logically, it was going to work. Mathematically, when I measured everything out with my calipers, that was the problem. That's what was going to work. So, you know, and it was basically a working knife. It was a very great knife. It just had that tiny little bit of play that bothered me. I don't know if it would bother anybody, because you know there's other knives companies that have that, and you know, like this mill relief. You know, I got a commercial made knife that's my beat around knife. It's actually an American made Kershaw. It has a giant thing. So is that really a big deal? I don't know. You know, is it a big deal or not? You know, I don't know. I'm making it a big deal. So what I did was, I said, well, I had to think about the application of how I was going to go about fixing it. So obviously, this is the stop pin right here. This is the stop pin, and this is the pivot pin. They're both ugly ones. I bought cheap stuff, the cheapest stuff I could, just the cheapest good stuff. I didn't go for the fancy stuff, you know, because I didn't know how it was going to turn out, and I didn't want to put a ton of money into it, and I could always change these later if I wanted to. So basically what I had to do is I had to put this in a vise. Well, first thing, I didn't want to really take the knife apart. Again, being lazy, and I should have taken the knife apart. So I dulled the blade, and first I wrapped it with, I didn't dull the blade. I wrapped it with a paper towel and electrical tape, because I was putting it in a vise, and God forbid, razor sharp thing flying around in a circle, not good. And I took this is 3/16, so I took a 3/16 bit and I just drilled right through it. It was a pain in the ass drilling through the titanium, and I kept squirting water on everything to cool it down. The WD-40 just kept everything soaked in WD-40, because I didn't want to take the temper out of my blade, or I didn't want to work harden the titanium. Titanium will work hard. Went slow. Basically destroyed the bit, but it went through. Then it made, you know, titanium's a pain to work with. It blew out a little bit and left a little nub, so I had to take the knife apart anyway. So just take it apart anyway. Just do the whole job. So I took it apart anyway, put it back together. Long story short, I reamed everything out to make everything work, and this is what I got now. So I got this. There's zero. I don't know if you can even say there's zero play. Side to side there's no play, and up and down there's no play. It doesn't get better than that, folks. It does not. The only way it could get better is if I could move it about 2 to 3 thousandths on the centering and clean up all my details. And I've got that started. So this is the LB2, okay? And this is just, you know, this is the LB2. This is like corrections to those errors. I made the changes in CAD. So this is what I got. I got a nicer pivot pin, of course. I got the small stop pin. Okay. Got my. I didn't do the lockup yet, but I got my stop pin where everything's staying nice at 90. This isn't even grounded. It's CPM 154. Everything is straight line. I went with an aluminum backspacer. I've got perfect centering because I actually measured with like a homemade drill. I countersunk every single one of these. I counterbored the backside and counterbored this in, but the pivot pin, and I went with just a blindside pivot pin, and I counterboarded everything in. Okay, and look at that. Look at that, folks. That's a thin, nice. That's the right size right there. Can you see that? I use this. I use the slitting saw for that. So let's see. And see this little nib here. This little nib. A lot of knives have it. It's not a big deal. But what I like to do is what I did here. I just angle it right off. And I addressed every issue. I got this back one lower so I could come in with my thumb. So every issue is addressed. So I've been holding off on this because I've been doing some other stuff. And to be honest with you, like I said, I've got my Tormach coming. I'm gonna finish this one to finish it so that I have another one, and the rest of my stuff. This is gonna be. I'm gonna take my CAD program. I'm gonna run it through my Tormach. I'm gonna cut out and do one complete knife to make sure everything is perfect, everything is right. I'm gonna buy a big sheet of titanium. I'm setting it off to water jet. I'm gonna write code for different textures, profiling, engraving, the contouring, and all that stuff, and the milling and everything on the Tormach. And that's how I'm gonna run it with the folders. Oh, also, to get this knife to this point that I'm at now, it probably took about 15 hours. To go from nothing, from raw materials with nothing, to this point, all by hand, it took me 5 hours. Okay? So you get faster as you go. And if you stick with kind of the same thing, that's the thing with the folders, I'm sticking with the same style. These things are nice and light too, by the way. So anyway, I know I'm rambling, but check me out. I'm LUMABLADE on Instagram and LUMABLADE USA on Facebook. Any questions, comments, any way I can help anybody, just go ahead. Email lumablade@yahoo.com. That's going to change because I'm going to get a website up and running, and once that's up and running, I'll have all my contact information and everything. So you guys have a great day, and thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We're going to have lots of content coming, a lot of good stuff. It's not all just going to be in the shop stuff. It could be random stuff. I can take you to my job site one day and show you something else that I do. So have a good one, guys.